Assalamualaikum. Welcome to Member Spotlight by Anite Muslim Chamber of Business. MCOB is a membership-based social enterprise with a mission to create a thriving Muslim business community. It's the power of collective wisdom, continued learning, and thought leadership brought together for Muslims by Muslims. Our core belief is that business leaders thrive when they have access to a supportive community of peers who challenge and inspire each other. Today, we have with us our member, Zulikha Hussain. Zulikha is a licensed real estate agent in the state of Texas and owns Wazu Capital Partners along with her husband, Mohammed Hussain. Welcome, Zulikha.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being here and joining MCOP. I would love to learn more about you and the work that you are doing. So, if you can share with us your journey, how you started and where you are today.
Absolutely. So, Alhamdulillah, as females in our community, we wear multiple hats, being a daughter, wife, a mother, grandmother, so many different things that we are, doing on a daily basis and evolving and changing. And so for me, I love real estate and was passionate about it at a young age and took my first real estate courses probably, gosh, when I was 18 years old. And at that time, I was excited about residential and residential properties and that area of where I wanted to be. But I ended up having to work harder on the family and other priorities that takes place. And so didn't really get my license until about roughly 10 years ago. And so I became a Texas licensed real estate agent, love entrepreneurship. And, it's just a passion of mine since I was a young child. I want to say, I remember being in the schoolyard in grammar school, selling items that I would go with my mom to a wholesale shop, small keychains, little toys, candy, all this kind of stuff that young kids loved but wouldn't have access to, but had lunch money or little pocket money to use. And so that's where I think a passion of doing more, being able to make my own money, being able to offer opportunities to other individuals started. And generating wealth, being able to manage ourselves as females. As you know, in the Muslim community, most of the time we're leaving all of this wealth, building and ability to manage our wealth to the males in our family, usually a father, husband, or brother, somebody of that nature. But it's important for us as females to start looking into the value of how we can be protected and take care of ourselves and also offer some wealth to our families. As we progress, we want to make sure our children, our grandchildren, a legacy is left behind. And so that's where my journey and desire to do into real estate came in. And I started with my license being able to work in the residential and embarked very early on. Within the first year of my license, I was able to locate a project that I really loved. It was a passion. And so I got into that development. I got on a very great project in Frisco, Texas, and then moved on from there. So, created my own brokerage entity and then moved on to where my passion started lying into figuring out ways to create more wealth for myself and others. So here we started a business of Wazu Capital Partners, alhamdulillah, and we're excited about that. We looked at a situation that happened within our own family and realized that a lot of us are not aware of how to do alternative investments. I mean, everybody's exposed to stocks and bonds and, the traditional way of making money, but not really had an idea of real estate syndications. I embarked on that myself a little over 12 years ago. So 15 years ago, I got exposed to real estate syndications, which I loved and really recognized that so many of our community is not aware of that. And so that's where my passion developed into wanting to do more for ourselves and our community.
Okay. So share with us a little bit more about especially what you do under Wazu Capital, and you talked about the real estate syndication. So if you can provide some more detail around it.
Yeah, so basically, what Wazu Capital Partners does is gives an opportunity to investors to look at this alternative opportunity where you would group up individuals' money and then go buy a real estate asset. Mainly, what we're do is majority of our portfolio is in land because a lot of our current investors prefer to have non-leveraged deals. And so, for that reason, we felt like the land is the more secure way to go because ideally, in every situation, we want to ensure that their capital is secure. And so majority of our current projects are into land. So we'll buy raw land with everybody's money together. Everything we do is SEC compliant. We do our Blue Sky filing. You get a proper private placement memorandum to look through. You get to see how we're designing the project and what our goals are going to be, what our returns are going to be. We're very transparent in how we do our business. It's quite important. And earlier, in my life where I really love the idea of helping others, I wanted to bring that into our business model as well. So offering them an opportunity to learn as they go without it being so cost bearing for them. So we make sure that we do our regular phone calls. We are we're recording all of our updates that we do and give our investors an opportunity to ask questions as well prior to them investing, and then while they're investing throughout the whole time frame of that entire project. And so right now we've got 5 projects simultaneously going, and we feel like with everything there's opportunities and challenges. But the good thing about it is when you're investing in a land deal, your capital is secure, especially when you buy that land in a strategic location and you're forcing appreciation into it. When I say forcing appreciation, is like you've got a raw land, it's valued at a certain price, but then once you get the municipalities to give you all of the approvals, then you're able to create that into a community. So you're investing and doing good work at the same time, which is really exciting for us. And I believe it's also exciting for the investors too.
Okay. So all the 5 projects that you mentioned, you are doing them around Dallas area.
Yes. So majority of our projects are drivable distance. Like we technically like to currently have an idea where we can at least drive to the location within 3 to 4 hours at the most. And that way we're able to keep an eye on our projects. But right now, majority of our projects are within an hour distance from our project, from our office. And so that really helps us. We're located in Dallas. We're right off of currently right now 75-635 corridor off of Coit Road. And so for us being in that Dallas Metroplex, now we do have one project which is in Oklahoma. It's a one-off. It's a hotel that we own, and we've only have 2 other investors in that deal. But other than that, majority of our projects are all within the Dallas Metroplex area.
Okay. Can you describe or share with us what does a typical project look like?
So,
Size
so
perspective, and also from for how long do you keep it, and what type of returns you have generated?
So ideally, what we like to do is try to keep it within the 5-year or less time frame. And so majority of our projects are really related to, and they're all individually based. So depending on our goal, obviously we'd love to achieve 2 digit returns for our investors. But depending on the challenges that we're facing on each of them, I say, lately we're looking at about a 12 to 14% annualized return. So it's good returns, but right now the goal is to keep the capital safe. I know that if you recognize a lot of the syndication projects as well as the stock market, they're so volatile and so many changes happening in our current market right now as well. So we want to make sure that with our land projects that the capital is safe, and then the returns, inshallah, could be much more. But right now we're ballparking right in that 12 to 15% return.
Okay, all right. And when you look at towards the future, and future, I'm saying in about like around 3 years. Where do you see Wazu Capital after 3 years from now?
So right now, we're shifting. Wazu Capital Partners has a goal in where we want to really take the time to uh, create partnerships with individuals who have at least an 8-year minimum track record into that specific asset class, so we can offer expertise in that specific asset class. For example, if we right now are creating a partnership with Bridge Tower, they specialize in communities that are for rent. So they build from ground up communities and they lease them up. They have a really nice group of employees that they've, several employees have stayed with them from the day of their inception, 8-10 years ago. And so what we like about giving ourselves the opportunity to partner with those specific kind of group of individuals, and a lot of the time, some of these individuals that are, say, specific in apartment complexes or in office, what we want to get away from, which has been a sort of a pain point in our syndication community in the last 3 years. A lot of individuals will notice and see that there has been a lot of bankruptcies, a lot of difficulties, a lot of cash calls, because the loans are all maturing. A lot of the times people didn't recognize that in 2022, we did purchase a couple of projects that were probably on the high end, and now, having to have all these corrections accomplished. So what our goal for the next 3 years and beyond is to make sure that we're partnering up with the right individuals that have their expertise in that specific asset class. So we're able to offer a diversification within syndications to our investor pool. So currently we have 300 investors in our database. 100 of them approximately are active within our 5 projects. We pride on being transparent, and we pride on being honest and full of integrity, as Muslims. But just in general, in this space of syndication, it is very difficult. And in the last 3 years, we've just seen so many amazing individuals fall apart. And I think that's what, when an investor is looking, needs to stop and pause and say, okay, is this company a full-time? I mean, I am passionate about, this business. For me, this is not just a job or just a business. This is my life. This is how I pay bills. My husband and I, my team, we work on this all day long. My husband and I are dedicated to this probably 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Investors become family to us. We want to continue that momentum. We pick up the phone anytime somebody calls or a text message comes through. We try our best to return that within that 24-hour period or less. We want to make sure that when an individual takes that level of investing with us, that we recognize how important that investment, that capital that they're investing with us, is something that they probably have and for and accumulated over a long length of period of time. So obviously we want to make sure that we are able to return the capital and the profits as promised, as close as possible. Anytime there's a challenge, anytime there is a situation that arises that are off of our what you would consider our business model or projection, we bring that to the attention of our investors. And we want to continue that integrity and value system, which has honestly fallen apart in a lot of syndication businesses. A lot of individuals who have full-time jobs decided to go do a lot of apartment investing and then became syndicators. So there's a difference between a syndicator and a syndication company. And I think that's super important. Wazu Capital Partners does not have any other businesses involved. I am a licensed Texas real estate agent. So we do make sure that, everything that we do is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, making sure our investors are first priority on, on our minds all day long, and which is, I think, the right way to do business.
Do you only work with accredited investors, or do you take in any investor?
So SEC law requires a certain percentage. So based on the projects, we will take both. We'll take sophisticated investors as well as accredited investors. However, I think what I would probably say to the audience and everybody else, you got to be patient. I think our performance and our performa that we put out is based on what we think at that time, but we don't control the market. And the market can shift and change. What we've brought into our business model today, based on some of the lessons we have learned, is to ensure that individual that we're going to partner up with for a specific asset class. Now, we do our own deals in-house, which is land. With the grace of God, Stephen Cook is a great individual that joined our team this year. He's the vice president of our land development. And so we're going to do land development in-house, but anything else that is going to be vertical construction, or say an asset class such as maybe storage or office buildings or stuff, we're going to partner up, because those asset classes are very specific, are very niche from my perspective right now, based on how the market changed. So we want to make sure that we're going to be, as example, Bridge Tower is our partner, as we really do feel like the next wave is going to continue to be in what you call communities for rent. And maybe even, we're toiling with these ideas of how to build better communities with all this property and technology and materials being unique coming to the market. So we're really excited about that aspect as well. So we're going to do a little bit more, I feel, in construction in the next couple of years. But ultimately, our goal right now is to ensure that every investor, even at a young age, I think this is super, super important, Kashif, that I feel honestly that enough is not taught at school, even at the college level. Nobody's talking about alternative investments, ideas of how to increase wealth without really having to asset manage it yourself. Most of the time, you'll see our community, they will invest in gold, they'll invest in stocks because that's available and everybody knows about it, and or they'll invest in rentals, but that requires them to be active in it. They need to make sure that they're taking care of it. Of course, in gold, there's nothing to be active. You buy it and you put it, but all these asset classes still have a high potential risk involved in it. Syndications also have risks involved in it, but if we're investing into a land deal, most of the time, I would say 99% of the time, as long as that land is purchased properly, you are going to just have natural appreciation, because land itself, as you know, is not being created more. We have to work with what we have. Enough is not taught in our schools. So coming back to that point, I think for me, the passion is let the investor be at a certain age. And one of our investors, my own children and my children's friends, they're in their 30s. And the youngest one, I want to say, was like 26 that invested with us at a $50,000 mark. And so it's exciting. So we take investors in certain projects, irrespective of their skills, irrespective of their age, as long as they're sophisticated, accredited, but they have to read the PPM. We guide them through it. We have investors of all ages. We had an investor up in his 70s who didn't quite understand how to work the computer and how to sign all of this, because all of our stuff is on Juniper Square. That's the other thing I wanted to mention while I have your attention. We allow everything that we've recorded, everything that they have written and read and signed on our Juniper Square platform. So our investors have the accessibility to go back and find their documentation at any time during that investor time period of that whole entire investment cycle. So I hope I answered it.
Yes, an average investor, just the next question, like an average investor, how much do they invest in terms of amount?
Oh gosh, we're all over the board. I think our smallest amount was 50,000 and our largest is 1.6 million. And I'll add one thing. If this is my last question, I have to say this because I'm so excited about it. I was able to get a trademark that got through, which is called Empower Women, Improve the World. I'm quite passionate about that. I think, I've done a lot of non-for-profit work. I've done a lot of civic engagement work and interfaith work in the past. But I will tell you, throughout all of my journey as a child, throughout being now a business owner of two businesses, which is my real estate brokerage firm, and then, of course, Wazu Capital Partners, women bring a lot to the table. We we just need to have a lot more support, and having men like you supporting our community and women especially, I really appreciate that. And I want to continue that momentum. And definitely, I would say you can start learning about alternative investments and syndications and real estate and all sorts of investment opportunities at a young age. Like, I take my almost 10-year-old grandson to some of my meetings, site visits. He's come to so many site visits with me, subhanAllah, and it takes time. Like, just so you know, in 2023, we didn't bring any projects to the table intentionally, because the market was sort of, all over the place. When you went from real, interest rates from 2 some odd percent jump into 8%, that was like a crazy market. So evaluating deals, we evaluate deals all the time and trying to bring the best ones to our investor pool.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Zulikha, for being a member with MCOP, and looking forward to seeing your company's growth in the years to come. And my best wishes are with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And so glad to be part of an amazing community.
Yeah, thank you. Sonic.
Walaikum salam.